Yo, what's up, YouTube? Woo! Yeah! Today's movie review is Aquaman. Now, what can I say about this movie? This movie kicks ass! You know what I'm saying? This was the Aquaman movie we all been waiting for years. You know, this Aquaman doesn't just embody what the character is, this embodies what Aquaman is in comics, anime, and in film. And gotta say, thank you, Jason Momoa, for really kicking the house down and making this character your own. Now, this is a very strong, powerful film. I have to admit, a lot of people didn't think this movie would get made. A lot of people didn't think this movie was going to be taken serious. But this movie is taken very serious. Now, yeah, there are some moments where they bring in some nice, quirky, funny jokes. You can tell it was written for Jason Momoa to say some funny, catchy stuff. If you haven't seen this movie, I advise you make this on the top of your list for Christmas, because this movie is that good. It ain't just good, it's that good. Spoiler alert. Hold on. Spoiler alert. Let me say it again. Spoiler alert. Don't watch the movie review if you have not seen the movie. You always get about 2 or 3 people who try to go see the movie review, and then you tell too much of the movie, and then you kill the whole entire movie experience. So go see the movie first, and then come back and watch the movie review, because I'm going to drop some serious, mad movie spoilers, and I don't want you saying, damn it, Alex, I didn't even see the movie for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Go see the movie, then come watch the movie review. Hold on. Gotta say it one more time. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. You've been warned. Spoiler alert. Alright. This movie opens up, the very beginning of the film, it opens up with a guy at a water watch, I think, tower. You know, he lives in the middle of the ocean, but there's a tower, and at the watchtower, he just so happens to have a house. Now, a big mythical battle takes place, and Nicole Kidman's character washes up on shore. He's stunned to see a woman come out of the water. You know, he tries to attend to her. You know, she's unconscious. She's not aware of her surroundings. And when she regains consciousness inside the house, she presumes him as a threat. You know, she takes her trident, destroys his television, and he begs, not to, get hurt. And once she passes out, she wakes up, and there's a dog staring at her. The dog's trying to, the dog's curious, because the dog want to see why would someone, do this. And she's looking at the dog because she's never seen an animal like that before. And the way you could tell that Nicole Kidman had to really go in the gym at her age, like in her mid-40s, which I'm impressed. Most women who get in their 30s and their 40s and 50s, they're usually not willing to go into a gym and beat themselves into shape. Like, for a moment, I thought this was like they used some CGI and made her look younger, but you could tell at the same time some makeup got used, and you could tell she really got into the gym and got into real physical fit training. Like, you can tell Nicole Kidman had to do at least 3 or 4 styles of martial arts. She had to do some cardio, some form of weight training. You could tell when you watch this movie that she is fit to kick your ass. Like, you be like, is that Nicole Kidman? No, that can't be her. She'll, and you be like, shit, it is her. And you see, this is like a far cry, because the last time we saw her do a movie of this big, well, not of this big scale, but a movie close to it was Batman Forever. Now it's like 20 years ago. And if you look at that movie and this, you can see that, man, she really got into shape. Well, anyway, she, sees her wounds healed, and the man brings tea, and of course she actually eats one of the fish, and, there's a joke, don't eat me, don't eat the dog, and, it was a funny moment. And that kind of establishes the relationship between an Atlantean and a human. And of course, Arthur, is born through that unionship. And, they come out of the water and they come find her, and she attacks them. And she tells her husband that she can no longer stay on land as long as they know she's, alive, and she basically goes back to the waters because she's having an arranged marriage, which she gives birth to another child, which we all know later would be played by actor Patrick Willis, who we saw in the movie Watchmen, which that's like he's been in a lot of films. He's been in. We'll get to his character, but she spawns off another child, and then she gets put to death, but she managed to survive, which we find that out much later in the film. We get to the next cut where we see Arthur is a little kid. He's on a school trip. They take him to the aquarium where they have all these fishes in the exhibit, and he hears all these strange sounds coming from the water tank, and he sees the shark getting ready to clash the glass. And he touches the glass, and the hand vibrates these waves, and all the animals in the sea come to him the minute they see him, and everyone in the school trip is stunned and shocked to see that he has this ability. And then, from that point on, you see the title Aquaman. Then the movie takes us to the next cut where there's these pirates who are like military trained. They steal a submarine. They kill the war commander on the submarine. They kidnap the Navy. And then we see him hit it real hard. And Jason Momoa got into such killer shape that I could have sworn that this was Drago and Conan the Barbarian at the same time. I'm looking at him like, is this a Conan the Barbarian movie I'm looking at, or is this Game of Thrones? But he got into even bigger shape. It's like every time he plays a character like this, he gets bigger. Like this one, you could tell he put on 30 to like 40 pounds of muscle. Like he looks ripped like a motherfucker. Like you would not want to get into a fight with this guy at a nightclub. Like it's like he would drive up with a Harley Davidson, and then you come to the club and you hit on this woman, and he comes back and you look up like, oh shit. It's like you do not want to fuck with this guy. That's how ripped he was. And the fact that, to see a lot of these actors get in these roles were good. Now, the fight scenes were perfect. He didn't just get into shape. He learned fighting choreographer. You could tell that he was good. You could tell that it was real. This wasn't something that they CGI, that this was actually him actually punching and kicking. Now, there are stunt devils. There are fight choreographers that do certain fighting scenes for the actors, but you could tell he still participated to the enough to where it's actually him. And he beat these guys down. The father tried to kill him with a little small missile, and it stunned him. And the son, who we all later will become Mantis, witnessed his father die. He tried to fight him one-on-one. He got his butt whooped. Aquaman saves the Navy. And then he comes back to where his father's at, and we see he drinks alcohol. And his father keeps telling him, stop blaming yourself for your mother leaving us. It wasn't your fault. It was just, she already had an arranged marriage, and she was supposed to spawn off a child with this king, and he still blamed himself, and then these biker guys want to take pictures, which I thought was hilarious. Like, I thought another fighting scene was come, and if anybody noticed this, that was the same location where they had filmed certain parts of his character from Justice League, where it's hinting at that it's still in that same universe where Batman and Wonder Woman and Superman might actually still exist. But you recognize that place because that's where he would drink all his, alcohol from. And finally, we get to the next scene where we finally see Ocean Master as he vows to get, revenge on the surfer drillers for polluting the oceans and killing some of his people. Atlanteans had advanced technology and it failed underwater, and they all evolved, and that's how they got all their unique abilities. Now, Patrick Willis was perfect in this role. Like, he was a cold and calculating villain. Like, the last time we saw him play this type of character, it was in the A-Team. And then the last time we saw him play a hero that could have been bad, was Watchmen. Like, he really made sure that, his presence was felt. Every time you would see him, his music would come on, and you knew he was about to do some cold, devious shit. Willendorf was perfect in his role. To see flashbacks of him train him when he's a kid, a teenager, and then Doug Lughlin surprised me. Like, I heard he was in this movie, but I almost didn't recognize him. I was like, oh shit, that's Doug Lughlin. Like, I just saw you in Creed 2. And for him to pop up in this movie, it's like, what a nice way to come back on the big screen in a big major way. His parts in the movie were incredible. He did some great fighting in the movie. He wasn't just one of these kings that sat around and talked. Like, he actually was great. And Amber Heard, oh man, that woman is fine as hell. I mean, for her to be the love interest of the main character, we've seen her before, and to have her pop up on land and confront him and tell him that he needs to come and help, and for him to deny her was kind of funny. He gets in the Jeep, you see this big ass tidal wave come out of nowhere, he sees the birds flocking, and they get hit real bad, and then he comes to his senses that he didn't want to have to participate. And when they have this conversation, they again mention Justice League when she said, well, you stopped Steppenwolf. So basically this movie is set in the time period just right after Justice League. So there is some mentions of Justice League, but they don't mention Batman and Wonder Woman, which I thought was nice and fantastic. And the fact that a lot of people thought that in Man of Steel that the whales saved Superman, which in this film, you can kind of say that there's a possibility that could have been hinted. The next scene cuts to where now he watches her save his father, and then they end up going underwater, which he don't want to go in the ship, and she tells him he has to, so he does. And you could see them go to Atlantis underwater, and this is where he comes. He gets attacked because he end up trying to fight all these guys off. He does good for a pretty while, and then he gets knocked out unconscious. He wakes up, he's in chains, and he finally comes face to face with his brother. And this is when he learns the truth about where he comes from and why he has all these unique abilities. Here is where he gets challenged to combat, the fire ring, and Patrick Willis is, he's doing this supervillain thing. And you see in this fight, he was on the verge of actually losing this fight, and he managed just to get saved by, Amber Heard's character, and this pisses off the brother, that he thinks they're dead because the ship crashed where there's molten lava underwater. And then finally we get to the best part. They're back on land, and they end up getting onto a airplane where they land in the desert, where they finally get the little ancient squirrel to tell them about the original trident, which is the most powerful trident you have to have if you want to command all four kingdoms as the king. Which she takes some little picks of water off his head, which I thought was kind of funny, and she destroyed it and gave him a test, like, do you remember all the information? And for him to forget, and for her to have that look like, you are such a typical man. Like, this movie embodied masculinity to the point where this version of Aquaman, they're just letting him do whatever the hell he wants. Where in Justice League, he did kind of what he wanted to do, but at the same time, he was restricted and watered down a bit. Like, this Aquaman, he don't hold back. He kills. Where in Justice League, you don't really see him really killing. Where in this movie, he actually kills. He actually does the complete opposite. Like, in this movie, it's I don't want to say it's dark, and I don't want to say it's lighthearted. It's kind of in the middle, but you're surprised that he would actually kill. Where in Justice League, he'll fight, he'll knock the bad guys out, but he won't kill. So it's like, yeah, they're giving you the actual Aquaman that you've asked for. Now, when they get to another location, we could see the relationship begin to take fold. You know, we begin to see her develop a crush on him. We see him have a crush on her. We see him checking her out. We see her giving them that look like, why are you looking at me like that? Why you being such of a, pervert? And then to finally see them fight again, which was amazing. We get to see her abilities get fully established, like what she could really do with water. She kills the guys, building explodes, and then Mantis gets an advanced prototype suit. When we see him get his weapons, he reconstructs them. He comes back after Aquaman, and again he gets his butt whooped. And you presume he's dead in the movie. You just figured, oh, okay, he's got to be killed now because you fought him twice and get your butt whooped twice. And for them to have to go back to the water, and then he finally gets attacked. When they end up on another part of the world, this is where he comes face to face with his biological mother. I thought this was like the most powerfulest part of the movie. Son sees mother, and his love interest like, oh shit, who is this? And she finds out that's his mother. And him having to fight the sea creature in order for you to get the Triton was kind of like a powerful moment, because you get to see that so many people have tried, so many people have failed, and he, like a badass, he talked. He saw that the only way you can get it was to explain your reason, and he got the Triton, and then he transforms into actual Aquaman. And then he comes back. We see this big, haul out, drag out fight. And it was a badass fight. And then we get to see brother versus brother again, which this time the fight's even, and he beats him. And then, of course, he refuses to kill, which we finally see the mother show up and stop the fight. And the truth comes out. The fight ends, and the good guy gets to kiss the girl, as you possibly can imagine. And the creature that, he controlled with the Triton, basically it's back. And it's full effect. Now, for the end credit. The end credit was a surprise. We see he's laid on top of something. He's knocked out unconscious, helmet destroyed. And he gets put in the hospital, and we see the scientist that we saw on TV start studying Atlantean technology. And basically he tells the guy, I wouldn't do it if I were you. Almost destroys the whole entire building. And he goes, you fix the technology, but I want to find Aquaman, which teases a sequel, basically. Now, this movie gets a 10 out of 10 because this was the Aquaman that I think people wanted to see. I think this is pretty good. I loved it. Jason Momoa knocked it out of the park. And I believe this was a better take of the character than what we saw in Batman vs. Superman and in Justice League. So for him to play the character a third time, but to get his own film and actually do its real true justice, what can I say? 2 thumbs up, 10 out of 10. Can't wait for the sequel. Can't wait for the DVD. And I love Aquaman. Until then, peace.